Slovene historical fiction in form of historical tale. A historical novel is, besides rural story, the central national constitutive genre. Epic poem. Slovene historical narratives started with the 500-line epic poem The Baptism on the Savoca by Franz Prešeren in 1836, dealing with the defeat of the pagan Slovenes by the Christian Slovenes in the Boe Valley in 772. Only the leader Crimea remains alive. He finds out his betrothed Bogomila has been baptized and has gone to convent. She just kept the promise to Saint Mary if her beloved Crimea would survive the battle. Now Crimea is easily persuaded to receive baptism at the Savoca waterfall and becomes a Christian priest. Crimea thematizes the basic Slovene national dilemma whether to stick to their own cultural identity or to accept and adopt the best from more industrious and successful neighbors. Joseph Zemler's Sedem Sinov followed 1843, printed in the newly introduced Illyric alphabet with Hersheks, to more clearly demonstrate the inclusion of Slovene national epic into the South Slavic and Pan-Slavic movement. Later, narrative in verse was sporadic. In epic poetry, Anton Askirk is known for persistent interweaving of historical topics into his epic. Historical drama. The historical tragedies by Friedrich Schiller were being translated from 1848 on. The original dramas by Josip Jersic and Anton Medved followed. Historical topic was essential for the first Slovene singspiel Jamska Ivanka by Miroslav Vilhar, as well as for the first Slovene operas. Some more historical dramas. Anna Wambrecht Sama, Za Staro Pravdo, Ivan Mrak, Maria Tudor, Metod Turnsek, KRSD Karantansky Nezov, Jos Chavorsek, Zivlenia in SMRT Primoza Trubaja, Milos Mikeln, KNEZ Ulriken Husadalia Zavejda So MRZLE Andre Roseman Rosa, Passion de Press herein. Historical tale and historical novel. The most influential form of historical literature was yet the historical narrative of various lengths. Throughout the 19th century the subtitles Ogodovinska povest prevail. Till 2008, 359 narratives longer than 10.000 words were published, with production peaks in the years 1905 to 10, 1925 to 35 and 1995 to 2000. 143 authors produced the volume of 26 billion words. Historical narrative is the most prolific Slovene narrative genre, with the standard labeling Zgodovinsky Roman since 1950. Frank Malavasic Sarazem is Jame, and Valentin Mandelkstjela share the first place on the chronological list of texts. Several Walter Scott-like historical novels were composed by the Slovene Walter Scott, Josip Jersic, who continuously produced this genre, beginning 1864 with Jurako's Jak Slavinsky Janikar, the story about Turkish invasions, awarded at Mohorjeva Publishing House. He is also the author of the first explicit Slovene historical novel Ivan Erzem Tattenbach, Historicen Roman. The Walter Scottian demand to give stories local color resulted in easily identifiable domestic geographical location. Topics. The most widespread and prominent genre types of the novels and tales on antiquity, the novels devoted to Slavic settlement and Christianization, the chivalrous novels, the novels about the Dukes of Celje who were seen as a questionable alternative to the ruling Habsburg dynasty, the stories about Turkish incursions which helped to ignore domestic social conflicts, the religious battles between Catholics and Protestants, peasant uprisings, Jez Prafor, Matija Gorgin, 1940, local history, secret societies, witches and bandits, Uskoki, the Illyrian provinces, governed by Napoleon, family saga, and the most frequent of all, biographical novel. The most prolific writer writers were Mimi Malinsek, Ivan Sivek, Anton Slonjak with the biographical novels, Franz Bevk, Hilke Vost, Ivan Prejelj, Josip Jersic, Fran S. Finsgauer, Ivan Tavkar, and Vladimir Batel succeeded to become classics. Among modern authors, Drago Jankar is internationally known. The writers of Slovene historical fiction were eager to show the historical erudition. They studied historical documents vigorously. Their most exploited historical sources were Johann Wakard von Valvassor, August Demeets, and Ivan Vrovnik. Heroes. The purpose of the historical narrative was to constitute a Slovene national hero. The archetypal hero, Martin Pan by Franlov, stick as a smuggler who helped the Austrian emperor to get rid of the dangerous enemy Bridovs, for which he is rewarded with the license for transport business, thus being socially promoted from peasantry to middle class. The tale doesn't fit into the frames of historical fiction yet and could be described as a genre antecedent. Fedoka Severs M. Linarjev Janez, an alternative to Pan, who seemed not to profit enough for his contribution, rose from peasantry to nobility. Heroes were usually less successful in resolving social conflicts than heroines. Historical fiction presented the Slovenes in relation to other nations and offered them different strategies for dealing with the other. The elimination of the other, ignoring the other, adaptation to the other, or assimilation of the other. Formal features of historical fiction. The narrated time in Josip Jersic's historical novels encompasses 3 years and in his historical tales 4 years, which doesn't comply with the theoretical postulate about novels which should present the whole hero's life and tales which should cover just a part of it. The length of historical narrative grew longer and longer. The average length is 71.700 words, referring to the complete production till today. The writers from Stario decided twice more frequently for this genre compared to the writers from Carniola, who preferred rural topics, and the share of women among writers was 3 to 4 times higher than in the rural story, still being 12% only. There are 6 to 9 settings and 10 to 13 persons in each historical narrative. The direct speech encompasses 50% of the text. Historical facts are sometimes just mentioned, as in Jersic's Lepavida, and sometimes they occupy up to 1/3 of a text due to erudite historical knowledge. 25% of texts in the corpus are literally subtitled as Roman, 38% are called povest. The subtitle novel, when chosen to denotate narratives in the 19th century, applied to historical narratives in 60% cases. Translated novels. Both the translated novels as well as the foreign language novels were equally consumed by the 19th century bilingual Slovene urban readers. Historical topics were introduced into the Slovene prose narrative in 1831 by Christoph von Schmid. However, it wasn't labeled as historical fiction but rather as a religious educational tale. Slavic writers were favored till 1919. Mitchell Zarkowski, Henryk Sienkiewicz among the Poles, Prokop Chokolasek, Alois Jurasek and Vaclav Bienstrobisky among the Czechs, Gogol, Leo Tolstoy, Pushkin, Merezhkovsky among the Russians. Croatian books were read in the original version and weren't translated till the late 19th century. August Senowa, Velimir Dieslik, Evgen Tomic. As an exception, the popular non-Slavic writers Edward Bulwer-Lytton, Michel Zavako, Benjamin Disraeli and Alexandra Duma were translated into Slovene. A few Slovene historical tales were translated into other languages. Josip Jersic's Juraj and Ivan Erzem Tatenbach, Fran S. Finsgar's pod Svobodnym Sonchem, Tavkar's Vasoska Kronika, Jospavhor's Serenissima, Vladimir Batol's Alamit, Janez Jalen's Bobry, Drago Jankar's Galjo and Katerina Parvin Jesuit, Florjan Lipis, Stesnitev, Dush Revolution Merx Galileia Flestana, Allo Tribulas Maranatha Alilato 999, Bibliography, Miran Ladnik, Slavinsky Zagodovinsky Roman Podatkow Nazaburka, 1999, Miran Ladnik, Slavinsky Zagodovinsky Roman